Okay, I know the train for discussing the June 2024 Nintendo Direct has long since left the station, okay? I am aware of this, but ever since the presentation aired, I have not been able to stop myself from thinking about Donkey Kong Country Returns HD and how utterly hilarious it is to me. I genuinely think this game is hilarious. And I just wanted to talk about that today. So there's there's no point to this video really. If I'm gonna be perfectly honest, there's no deep message. There's nothing. You're not gonna gain anything by watching this. But I just wanted to get this off my chest. So, the first thing that I find just so funny about this game is actually just the fact that it exists, okay? So, Donkey Kong Country Returns was released for the Wii in, 2010? And then in, 2013, it got released again on the 3DS. And now, what will end up being 12 years later, it's getting another re-release on the Nintendo Switch. Are you aware that this basically means Donkey Kong Country Returns is Nintendo's equivalent of The Last of Us? I'm just gonna let that one sink in for a second. This is Nintendo's The Last of Us. And Tropical Freeze is not that far behind, because it got its Switch port so soon after the original Wii U release. So, yeah, that in and of itself is funny, that this is basically Donkey Kong Country Returns. It's the third release of this same game. And you know what? I'm still gonna buy it. Still gonna pay full price on the launch day. And I'm gonna be really happy about playing it, even though I could go play it now. I could go play it on the Wii. I could go play it on the 3DS. I could do both of those things tonight if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I am instead going to wait until January, and I'm going to buy and play the new version and be really happy about it because consumer brain go burr. Oh. So yeah, this game getting a third release, that's already pretty funny to me. Another thing that makes this game funny to me is the fact that, God, when was the last original Donkey Kong game? It was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Tropical Refreeze? That's a horrific hybrid. It was Tropical Freeze in 2014. Since then, all we have had is re-releases. In fact, pretty much since Returns originally released, all we've had is re-releases. It went Donkey Kong Country Returns, Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch, and now Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. There's still no whisperings even of a new Donkey Kong game. They've re-released the same two games 3 times now. In total, if we're counting the total releases of the modern Donkey Kong Country duology, there have been 5 of these 2 games. There have been 5, and no new games other than those 2, the initial releases of those 2. And this, it makes me sad, right? Because the Donkey Kong Country series is so incredibly good, especially these 2 titles done by Retro Studios. I think they're some of the best 2D platformers ever made. I think Tropical Freeze is easy, top 3 platformers ever, right? So, the fact that there hasn't been anything new, it is a sad thing. I am ultimately laughing so that I don't cry. But, it is also, it reaches a point of absurd that it wraps back around to being laughable. Like, it's so stupid that it's been so long since a new Donkey Kong game, and we keep getting re-releases instead. It is so frustrating and ridiculous that it's actually really, really amusing. Like, Nintendo's outlook on this series and the way they release it, it's funny. I'm sorry, it is amusing. And you know, there's an argument to be made that maybe I keep wanting to say Tropical Returns. That's not a thing. Returns HD, maybe that is being made and released strategically. It's like, oh, here's one of the newest Donkey Kong games, released like 15 years ago, but we're not gonna focus on that. Here's one of the newest Donkey Kong games. You should play it again. Get Donkey Kong fresh in your mind, and then we'll release a new game. We'll release a brand new one. Maybe that's what's happening, but also maybe not. Maybe we'll just get a deluxe edition of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Switch 2. I have lost my train of thought. Basically, just the fact that the entire Donkey Kong series has been boiled down to these two games for over a decade, that's funny. But would you like to know what the funniest part about Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is? To me, in my opinion. Do you want to know the funniest part? It's the fact that it is releasing 7 months after it was revealed. The wait between Luigi's Mansion 2 HD's reveal and release, that in and of itself was crazy. That was ridiculous. I understand that it's still, 3DS to Switch ports are still kind of a new thing. We had MoqaTea, and that was it, wasn't it? It was MoqaTea, then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I think that is all we've gotten in terms of 3DS to Switch. So, like, it's still a fairly new thing, reworking a 2-screen game for a 1-screen system. But you didn't have to reveal Luigi's Mansion 2 HD so far ahead of when it released. That was already crazy. But then doing the same thing for a Wii game is, it's next level funny. 7 months, not even the same calendar year. The reveal and the release aren't even happening in the same calendar year for a remaster of a Wii game. Maybe this version, this HD version is based largely on the 3DS version, which is why it's following a similar sort of reveal and release timetable to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Although I will offer an immediate rebuttal, that's fucking stupid. Because this game was originally a single screen experience. The 3DS version was just reworking a single screen experience to be a dual screen experience, to then turn that reworked dual screen experience into a reworked single screen experience. Don't do it! Stupid. Really, really, really unnecessary. So, it's a Wii game coming to the Switch, and they revealed it not even in the same calendar year. That is funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny. I was watching the Direct and I couldn't help but laugh at that release date because the game looks done. Like, if it's following in the same footsteps as, again, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, it is pretty much as bare minimum as a port gets, I don't see them adding anything major to this game. For all intents and purposes, they could have shadow dropped it. In fact, after the Metroid Prime Remastered shadow drop and the Pikmin 1 and 2 shadow drops, I was dumbfounded when this game was not shadow dropped immediately after the presentation. When the release date came up, the fact that it wasn't today, that was crazy enough on its own, because the game looked finished. And then to get hit with the double whammy of it being January 2025 when that game releases, that is just... You couldn't write it. You couldn't... If I wanted to have scripted my reaction to that Nintendo Direct, I couldn't have ever predicted that Donkey Kong Country Returns would be coming to the Switch. It would be a bare minimum remaster. Let's just be open and honest. It looks bare minimum. And that it wouldn't be a shadow drop. It would be releasing 7 months later. Every piece of the Donkey Kong Country Returns HD puzzle is beyond amusing to me. And I needed to talk about it because it's been the only thing going on in my head for a good while now. It is just... I can't wrap my head around it. And what's worse is that I'm so ready to pay the most I've ever paid for that game. I'm ready. Let me spend full price on this game, Nintendo. No price drops. No budget price. Full price Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. That is how you make this the single funniest Switch release to have ever happened.